So my talk for today, my last 2 weeks, things I've been thinking about, has been so much. I recently got an advance copy of a book by a man named Gary Simmons, and it is so impacted me and got me so excited about what's possible in spiritual community. And it's killing me because he said I can't share the book. He said, no, wait till it comes out in the spring. And I'm like, oh my God. But I want to share what I'm learning from this book. And it's just so interesting to me because it ties, you'd think that when you're reading it, you'd think he was like here observing us. He was like here observing our community and what's going on here. And so I have so much to share. And I've been like going, where do I begin? How do I start? And so I'm going to start here. There are some here who consider me a spiritual authority. I am not. I am on my own process. I am growing. I am becoming like any of you sitting out there, right? What I am is a guide, a steward into what's possible. And I do that by sharing what's been possible for me. But just because I'm sharing what's possible for me, you got to walk your own walk. You got to do this in your way. So if you are looking at me as an authority, like I know something, the only thing I know is my path, not yours. If you put me up on any sort of pedestal or idolize what the minister is supposed to be, you are going to be sorely disappointed. If there have been times when you've been upset with me, I can promise you, you will be upset with me again. I'm human. This is how it goes. All we can do is do the best we can do. And I'm doing that as best as I can, as a model for what's possible in how we treat ourselves and how we treat others, right? If every time I make a mistake towards somebody else, what I then do is beat myself up, then I've made 2 mistakes. By being open and saying, yes, I did that. Okay, what can we do now about that? Without me getting all like, oh, I beg your forgiveness. I'm not begging anybody for nothing. And I don't want you to either. Saying you're sorry, being willing to make amends, then you're standing up for yourself the way I stand up for myself. The thing about me is I am never, it is never about me being sure I'm right. Right? This isn't about being right or wrong, or it should be this way or it should be that way. You guys have heard me a million times say, let's not should on ourselves. Let's not do that. Let's find what is highest and best together. Let's find what is highest and best together. And so, in Gary Simmons' work, his previous work, which he then expounds upon in his new book quite a bit, there's these levels of ministry. And this one level is called minister-centric. Minister-centric is where pretty much everybody's looking to me to set the agenda, set the pace, set the personality of the place, forms around my personality, which, boy, I would never recommend. You don't want to be inside this head, let me tell you. But almost every successful church ever has been minister-centric. It's what we're used to. And then when we go into what's called trying to do it differently, And this is where Gary Simmons' work is so brilliant. He says almost everything that every church does, including here, and this has been my big mistake too, has been to think that it's different simply because you pull the power away from the minister. You take the power out of the minister's hands and somehow that changes the underlying consciousness of the place. When in fact, what all it is the other side of the coin. It's still minister-centric. It's just the other side of it. Where on one side, everybody's with the minister. On the other side, everybody's kind of against it. Right? But it's the same stuff being played out. The same behaviors, the same consciousness. That for something new to emerge, the consciousness has to emerge. That's why I'm up here talking about classes so much, in how we together come together to form a unit that can rise together so that what happens, what shows up is actually something new. A year ago, I guess it's a little over a year ago now, but somewhere in that vicinity, we started talking here about how to shift. Everybody, we all got really on board with the idea that what we wanted to do was shift here from minister-centric to mission-centric. And it's still the thing that's on my mind the most. And the thing about mission-centric is there's only one way, one route to it, one architecture, one forum, and that is everybody gets behind the mission, that becomes the most important thing. Our mission here is to teach spiritual practices that create joy-filled lives, and it's occurred to me that maybe that's not a strong enough mission. That maybe that's part of what's going on here is that rallying behind this, because somebody said to me the other day that it's being driven by the minister. How can we shift from minister-centric to mission-centric if the minister is doing the one that's driving the mission? And that isn't supposed to be the way it is. A group of us came up with the mission. My job is then to steward and remind people this is where we're wanting to do. This is where we're headed on. And in a lot of ways, instead of just being that reminder, I have been driving it. And that's my mistake, because it's right that if I'm the one driving it, if the group isn't behind the mission, really behind getting on board with that, well then we need to relook at the mission. Because the only way to become mission-driven is if everybody's like rah-rah about the mission. More than rah-rah is willing to do what it takes to get there. Here, if we were really mission-driven, here, check this out. This is what I'm learning. In a minister-centric system, conflict is almost always interpreted through a personal lens. Who is responsible? Who is upset? Who is right? What needs to be fixed? And who must fix it? You know, there's a lot of talk about repair being needed. That's fixing. This means we're still looking at it through a personal lens, and as long as we're looking at it through a personal lens, it's still minister-centric. Here are the questions you ask once you get to being in a mission-centric. What is this conflict revealing about the next stage of becoming? Wow, what a question. How is the mission calling us to grow through this tension? How can this conflict deepen our maturity as a community? Those are questions. If we're in the other questions, it's not mission-centric. And so most of you sitting here going, why do I care about this? I'm just showing up on, to be here and be revived on Sundays and being inspired. And the reason you care is because there's something evolving here There's something new becoming. And in this new becoming, it's really important to be talking about it, to be saying, hey, there's something new arising here. I don't know what it's going to look like. But I know that if we are evolving, so is our consciousness. So is our ability to get beyond our personal lens into something more mission-driven, more purposeful, something that matters to our shift in the world. Because this isn't just for us sitting here and feeling good on Sunday. For some of you, it might be. That's as far as you take it. And that's okay. We're an open community that allows for that. But the other piece of this is there's something larger that's possible. And I am excited by the possibility. And so that's what I bring to you. I bring to you my excitement for the possibility. That's why I've been mentioning School of Consciousness. It's just one way of looking at the idea that what needs here is something that grows in consciousness. Because the more of us who are in that, who are feeling that, who are growing in your own life, because if you're growing in your own life, you're feeling the sense that it's possible to do that, have a community do that, have a community grow into something greater than what it has been. This can be more than your parents' community church, than your grandparents' community church. This could be something special. But we have to do that, and we have to do it together, because it's true that I can't drive it. I can only steward it and point the way. That's my job. That's what you guys pay me for, to model it in myself, to model that ability to stand in my truth in front of you and go, I'm not always right. In fact, I could be wrong a lot, but I'm still willing to get up here and go, let's see what we can come from this. Let's see what can grow from this. Let's see what newness can come out of this. There's in Kelowna, they're working on this same idea. And they came up with this as a mission statement or purpose statement. Transforming lives and inspiring people to make a positive difference in the world. Because does that have any juice to it? Right? Because then it's not just about us. It's not just about our lives. It's about doing this transformation so that our impact can be on the whole. That's what I love about it. That's what I love about what's coming out of Gary Simmons' work right now, is he's showing us a way to bring forth, to raise consciousness, to become more mature adults, right? So we don't get stuck in our hurt feelings all the time. Because that's where we all get stuck. Oh, he did something that hurt my feelings. She did something that hurt, right? Instead of looking at, well, wait a minute, there's something here that I can grow into. I can grow up to. And so we can interact with each other in a much more mature way. But to do that, you have to be willing to say, this isn't about me. This is about us. This is about the mission. And I'm really okay with revisiting our purpose, vision, and mission statements if they're not juicing, because we want the juice. You want to feel the juice, right? Or you're just showing up for the show. Yeah. If we can evolve, John De Palma, who's running the Kelowna Center, he said some incredible stuff. He goes, if we can evolve into the mission-centric, right, we can become a learning community rather than a spectator community. We can become a sanctuary of emotional and spiritual safety, a field of shared leadership. That's what we talked about here when they hired me, was we were going to be a field of shared leadership. But to do that, to be in true leadership, you got to be spiritually and emotionally strong. You got to be willing to stand up and not go, I'm mad at him, so I'm not going to talk to him. You got to be willing to say, okay, let's have the tough conversations instead of running from them. A living expression of our values in action. Conflict ceases to be a pathology and becomes curriculum. Conflict ceases to become pathology and becomes curriculum. Imagine being in a community that was like that, where we were together like that. We were that conscious. We were that awake. We were that willing to open our hearts to each other, to be present for each other, to give to each other in a deep way. Because that's what we'd be doing. If we were this kind of community where everybody was going, it's my responsibility too, for me to take care of my feelings by either going and having a conversation or at least, praying on it and doing whatever it takes for you to come back to your center. That was the responsibility of all of us. These classes, we are doing everything in our power to make these classes so powerful, so that when somebody's in there, they have the environment, because that's all I can really do. Ash and I, we are, and anybody else who's doing the teaching, is create an environment for the rest for all of us to get a chance to participate in a rising consciousness. But then you got to participate. And if you don't, if you go, oh, well, I'm going to participate elsewhere, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, that's fine. And that's great, because it's not like we're the only game in town. There's lots of places to take classes and get your consciousness raised. But when we do it together, then we are building community. We are building a high conscious community. Somebody said to me recently that all this, what this community really cares about is belonging. And Richard Rohr, who a lot of people respect, said this about belonging. He said that it is the container, but it is not the contents. That if you spend your time looking at the container, you miss the possibility of what's inside that container. So it's not that it's not about belonging. It's just that it can't be just about that. I mean, it can, but then you have a church, a community that has been the same, that can't hold the new consciousness. One of the things that other places are beginning to notice is the aging out of their communities. And I think that's, and Gary Simmons points to the research that's because young folks, they are looking for something different in their spirituality. They want to participate in it. And that's really possible here, that you participate in it. The 9 people who are in the advanced consciousness studies class now, they're about to move into practitioner training and then participate at a level here that will make a difference not only in their lives but in everybody else's. There's a way to participate here, and volunteering is participating, but only if it's at a level of consciousness that really helps rise the place, or else it's not. If you're still in a place of getting your feelings hurt and thinking that's more important than the community itself, and it isn't that it isn't important. If your feelings are hurt, you need to process it. But how do you process it? Do you process it by going away? Or do you process it by coming and speaking to the person who you're upset with? and having a conscious conversation. Maybe even having somebody there to support the consciousness of the conversation. Because in doing that, then we rise together. That's participating instead of just being a spectator. We all are going through stuff now. These are tough times in the world. There's so much going on out there. But we have the ability within ourselves to just be authentic in it together. There's a way to be together that is so much greater that that is possible to evolve here. Will it evolve here? Will we move into this next way of being? I don't know, but I'm really excited about the possibility of it. And I'm really excited about anyone who wants to stand with me in that, to begin the process of that shift to we're not spectators, we're participants in a conscious community that's growing into something special. That's what's possible here. So join me in that. Stand. We sing that song at the beginning. Stand. Let's stand together. Let's stand together in this knowing that there's something greater going on here that we can initiate and participate in and grow in to be something that maybe has never been seen on the planet before. I've gone around. When we started talking about this over a year ago, John Dixon said to me, go find other communities that have pulled this off, and I couldn't find one. Not one. 80 to 90% of all the centers in our movement are shrinking. Shrinking. Because there's only two things here, evolve or shrink. That's all that's going on. And anybody who thinks they can do this differently, well, that's interesting. And we'll see, right? We'll see how that unfolds. But I am excited by the possibility. I am excited by the chance to do something here that has not been done much on this planet. But to do it, we all have to do it. I can't drive this thing. We all have to stand together, and will we rise our consciousness? Will we bring to the table more than we have brought before? And continue to bring more, because that's what I'm doing my best to model for you up here. This is what it's like when every week you're wanting to bring more to the table. It's called a growing edge. Many of you have heard me use that term. What is your growing edge? And are you willing to keep breathing into it, to keep being with it, to keep having it be something greater for you? What is your growing edge? And can you bring it? Can you bring it to this community so that we can do this together? There's something so powerful here. There's something so magnificently powerful that we can do together. I see it. I see the vision of it. I see it. I'm seeing it more and more all the time, the possibility of it. But it's up to us. It's up to you. I can't do it. I can't even drive it. But we can, if you want. So will you stand with me? Will you stand with me? This is how we stand in something greater. This is how we stand for something that is beyond what we've ever seen before. Thank you for standing with me. Thank you for standing in the possibility. Thank you for standing in that consciousness. Let us take our next steps together. I love you all so much. Thank you.